Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into today's video. It's JMA Friday, so we're going to have a look at weather for the coming month with the Japanese and CFS models. And then we'll extend out beyond that into the rest of November and into December as well with CFS V2 at website webweb.net, and you find this web on the links page. So, well, we know we've got a bit of a breakdown going on in terms of the high pressure dominated through much of October. It's been a very dry month up to this point. We know we're going into more unsettled phase, had some rain already, some more rain to come. Of course, of tomorrow particularly. So we'll see whether this is indeed a general breakdown or whether we're going to go back to high pressure conditions fairly quickly with those long range models. But before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on the page at Gas Office. So have a browse of widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. And thanks very much for doing that. There's video ads on most of the page. You say open up with the content. When you've watched them, it grows back up again. It's all helpful to pay for the website. So thanks very much for getting involved. Thanks for doing that. So let's start off with 500 millibar heights from the JMA, Japanese Meteorological Agency model. These are broken down into weekly periods. Blue is extrapolating to low pressure, and yellow, orange, extrapolating to high pressure. So for the coming week, what we've got is a trough of low pressure in the Atlantic. This is for the 23rd to the 30th of October. Trough of low pressure in the Atlantic ridge, slipping away to the east. So this is quite an unsettled looking chart. Jet streams coming through rather like that. It's the Atlantic strikes back, the Atlantic awakens, whatever sort of Star Wars metaphor you want to put in there. It is turning more unsettled through the course of the coming week. I think that's a pretty good representation of what's on the way. We go through to the next week period. This goes from the 30th of October through to the 6th of November. And we've got this trough of low pressure again still in the Atlantic, but the ridge is fighting back a little bit, building close to us from the east, also building up from the south. So for southern east parts of the country, this could be turning drier again, the jet stream going a bit like that. So probably on the mild side of the jet, that could be very pleasant actually for the start of November. Not sure it would be particularly cold for bonfire night with that one. Again, could be some rain up in the north and west, but drier conditions certainly likely, those heights increasing down to the south. That doesn't look like it lasts all that long, though, as we go through to the final 2-week period. This goes from the 6th through to the 20th of November. We find the trough still in the Atlantic, and still with the jet stream more or less coming through the country like that. So it's unsettled looking signals for November, really. We could get some drier conditions in the south at times. Got this ridge down across Spain and Portugal. So we could get drier conditions in the south at times, but I think we have the signals generally looking to be fairly unsettled for November from the JMA. If we have a look at the CFS V2, we've got 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods again. So the first week period will be taking us from the 22nd to the 28th of October. This showing more influence from the ridge really down to the south through the coming week. Got this trough of low pressure to the north. The Atlantic is coming back somewhat, but still fairly influential ridging across many parts of the country actually through the coming week. I think that's a little bit over the top actually. I think it'll be more unsettled than you would think going by that. It's not going to be a complete washout of a week through the coming week, but I think that's a little bit wrong just to start off with. I'll go with the JMA, which is more unsettled than that, and I think that's a bit more of a better representation of what we've got coming up next week than the CFS V2. Heights from the 29th through to the 4th of November looking like this. The trough is sort of starting to dig back down, so it is turning more unsettled there. We've got this big ridge sitting up over Scandinavia, so the east still somewhat drier, but the trough of low pressure in the Atlantic certainly bringing more unsettled conditions back across the country. Week 3 is a proper unsettled week. It's going from the 5th through to the 11th of November. Got the trough in there, close to the country, and the jet stream coming right through, rather like that as well. So that is a definitively unsettled week there, from the 5th through to the 11th. But then the high pressure begins to ridge back again. So that trough of low pressure being shoved back into the central part of the Atlantic, ridging, returning across Scandinavia, and building to the south as well, so the flow probably going a bit like that. It means we could pull up some really quite mild air from the south or the southwest with that one. So it looks like the Atlantic is coming back, and we are going to have more unsettled conditions, but don't be expecting a complete washout of a monthly period by any means. I think we will still be seeing high pressure influences at times from the south and from the south and the east of the country. The temperature anomaly for the coming month looks like this, so from 27th through to 28th the coming week, generally a bit above average. The next weekly period, 29th through to the 4th, goes a bit below average, so going a little bit cooler in that weekly period. The next week looks like this, and it's very close to average, really. This is the Atlantic properly in at this point, of course, from the 5th through to the 11th, so that's an unsettled week, but temperatures are about average. And then the next weekly period, this is where the high pressure is building back to the south and east, of course, and that's going warmer than average from the 12th through to the 18th. So a milder period probably coming up overall for the coming month, but a little bit on the unsettled side at times. If we have a look at the precipitation anomalies, the coming week shows it wetter than average in the north, near normal to a bit drier than average down in the south. You probably think, looking at the 500 millibar heights, that will be a drier week actually than that is suggesting. But I think that's a better representation actually than the height anomaly. I think it will be more unsettled through the coming week. The next weekly period, 29th to 4th, goes drier than average, and then we go through to the 5th to the 11th of November, generally hinting at being a bit wetter than average there. Not surprised the Atlantic is in with that trough of low pressure. And it stays near normal to a bit wetter than average from the 12th through to the 18th. So I think we are looking at a more unsettled phase through the coming month, but there will be significant spells of drier weather as well. These are the temperature, or this is the temperature graph for the Birmingham from CFSV2 model for the next 6 weeks from the website weatherweb.net. You can find it to weatherweb on the links page. It's owned by the lovely Simon Keeling, of course. So this is 12 Celsius just here, generally about average for the end of October, a little bit milder than average by the time you get through to the middle of November. So what we see is that we keep those sort of temperatures going to around the 1st of November. That's the dates on the bottom, of course. 1st is just here. Then we drop down a little bit for a few days, go a bit cooler, then pick back up again. Nothing definitively cold coming up, really, until the end of November. It may just go quite cold there for several days, right at the end of November. Into the start of December, there could be some night frost. Well, and also there around the middle part of November, risk of some night frost. But generally, not a great deal of cool or cold weather until the very end of the month. The 500 millibar heights for the next couple of months looks like this. So this is how November is looking, with above average heights generally around the UK and to the east, trough of low pressure in the Atlantic, jet streams going a bit like that. But it means that with this area of above average heights, a high pressure over Scandi, we could be pulling in east or southeasterly winds at times. So that's probably why it turns a bit colder by the end of the month. Those easterlies could be getting really quite cold indeed from the east. But December looks very different actually. The height anomaly for December shows low pressure in the Atlantic and the ridge down across central parts of Europe. So the flow going rather like that, bringing milder air up from the south and southwest through the course of December. Could be unsettled as well with a lot of heavy rain up in the north. So these are the mean maximum temperatures broken down into weekly periods. Again, this is all based on the CFSV term. These charts do change day by day. So we start off on the 3rd of December where we finish with the graph, and that's a pretty cold week with mean maximums around 4, 5 or 6 degrees in the south and around 2 to 5 up in the north. But we go through to the next weekly period. This is the week up to the 10th of December, and it is significantly milder then, with temperatures heading up to around 7, 8, 9, 10 degrees. The next weekly period, weekend in the 17th, is another mild week as well. And then the next week period, and this goes up to Christmas Eve, that's another mild week. So it does look like we had get a prolonged spell of quite mild weather through much of December. But we get a change. And as we go to the week ending the 30th, so this is over the Christmas week, we go a lot colder, with temperatures for Scotland just 1 or 2, for England and Wales just 3 or 4, and then that sets up quite a prolonged cold spell. So we go through to the week ending the 6th of January, and we're barely above freezing across many parts of the country through that week, and another cold week of a week ending the 13th of January. So it looks like if we assume that's how it plays out, of course it's by no means a safe assumption, and these charts do change day by day, but that suggests that we have it fairly chilly around the start of December, then we go through a prolonged mild spell up to Christmas, and then we go colder over and after Christmas, and really quite cold for the new year. Very, very speculative, and don't take that too seriously. Coming back to the nearer time frame for the rest of October and December, it looks like we're going to have a more unsettled phase, not necessarily a complete washout of the period by any means. There will be drier days and drier spells alternating, but a little bit more mobility in the Atlantic coming up. Temperatures probably fairly mild overall, and yeah, just a little bit of rain coming through at times. So nothing overly alarming on the way for the coming month, if we believe the models. They are speculative, they're long-range models, so we always say the caveat is long-range forecasting is highly speculative. We'll be doing weekend forecast tomorrow, so come back for that. That's with tried and tested short-range models. Alright, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.